Serious, what terrifying confession has someone told you while intoxicated? Freshman year of college. Among all the new friends I made that year, there was one guy who was always a goofball, very laid back, casual, down for whatever. The biggest red flag we got from him was that, whenever people were drinking and hanging out, he would always essentially black out. He drank way too much, and would kind of spaghetti noodle his way around the party, while also intoxicated. After the party had winded down one night, a few people and I asked him why he always goes so damn hard, while drooping his head a ton, sloshing around, and slurring everything. He told us about how a few months ago, the summer before college started, his best friend called him. They lived in a small town by the beach, and his friend asked him to come meet him to watch the sunset by the water. He biked over there, sat down, and they talked for a while. Everything seemed fine. Then his friend took out a pistol and shot himself in the head, killing himself instantly. Apparently my friend had to call the police while covered in blood, brains, and skull fragments, just totally in shock. And then a few weeks later he went off to college a few states away, still in shock and unable to sleep or focus on anything. He didn't remember telling us that story, and I don't think any of us wanted to bring it up. His drinking habits didn't change until he was about to graduate, by which point he started going to therapy, got a job right after graduation, and seems to be doing better in the years since, thank God. This was about 6 months ago now. My brother and I were getting drunk one night because it was the weekend and we just wanted to get messed up and play video games. We had done plenty of shots and plenty of drinks and we were the definition of messed up. We were having fun playing some old WoW zombies for nostalgia, and we paused it to grab some chips. As I was grabbing the saucer, he said to me that he had tried committing suicide about a month prior to this. He had taken some pills and they pumped his stomach and stuff, and he told me the whole time he was thinking of me and how depressed I'd be if he had died, and that he'd never want to lose me. I told him I had also tried committing suicide a while ago, and I thought the exact same thing about him. We continued playing zombies while talking about everything under the moon, and we've been talking every day since. Have never missed and will never miss a day. We're both doing a lot better now, and we're both in therapy. It's nice having someone to talk to and trust about these things. Ages back I was helping a blackout drunk coworker to his apartment etc. He was needing to be carried 1 second and sprinting across the parking lot the next. As we're getting close to his room he starts breaking down. Why did I hit him? I shouldn't have run etc. Turns out drunk Digo is pretty convinced he hit a kid with his car one day. Sober Digo has no idea what he was talking about. My ex in college told me once, when he was blackout drunk, that a few years prior, him and a bunch of other kids broke into a house to have a party. The family that lived there was on vacation or something, and were all gone. IDK how they picked the house, or knew it'd be empty. Sorry, it's been like 12 years. And I forgot some details. They all got drunk and some ohm decided it would be fun to break a picture on the wall. Then someone else did, too. Eventually it devolved into them all destroying the house. Absolutely everything they could. All the windows were broken. Broke the legs off all the chairs, and used them to beat holes into the walls. Ripped and stole clothing. Ripped or burnt all the family photos on the walls. I don't remember all the stuff he said that they broke, but I remember him crying and saying that they ruined those people's lives, and there's no way to make it right. I honestly think he was so messed up that he doesn't remember telling me because we never mentioned it again. Anyway, like 2 years later, he punched me in the face for asking for a ride to work one too many times, so I guess he was a piece of crap regardless of current situation or alcohol intake. My grandpa never talked about his Korean War service. He had severe PTSD though, would wake up in the middle of the night screaming. Then one night he came home absolutely intoxicated, laid down on the couch, then told me that his entire unit had been wiped out before his eyes. He was the sole survivor and got caught behind enemy lines, but made it out. He was their sergeant and blamed himself. He eventually got into veterans therapy in his 60s though. A friend of mine likes to drink a lot, but he knows he has a limit because when he goes over it, he becomes very talkative. He also doesn't date at all, and for a long time we all wondered why. He's a good looking guy. He's really nice. He's fun to be around when he isn't drinking. Anyway, never wants to date. Well, one time he got absolutely sh-faced, and I found out why. It turns out that when we was a kid, he saw his aunt murder his uncle in cold blood. Ever since, he's been terrified of being alone with a woman and feels like he could never truly be safe around them. My great-grandfather was in World War II. He never ever spoke of it. If you asked him about it, he would politely get up, grab his drink, and go somewhere else. After my first deployment to Afghanistan, he called me and said, "I can finally talk to someone." I started hanging out with him all the time. I would tell him stories and he would tell me some. When I went on leave, we had a night where me and him were going drink for drink. After a while, he tells me about a time when him and his unit found a small concentration camp. They aren't all big like Auschwitz. He said the first thing he remembers was the smell. He said the smell was so bad he almost threw up a handful of times. So this camp didn't have ovens or a gas chamber. When they went through it, the north side of the camp was a pit they had dug out. Inside the pit must have been thousands of decaying bodies. He said he was sure that the ones on the bottom were probably skeletons. When they talked to the people, they said the Nazis would line people at random and shoot them. Their bodies would just fall in. He said the Jews told them that as some starved to death, they would throw themselves in with hopes of breaking their necks. When they hit, the Germans knew the Allies were close. They locked the gate, took the food, or poisoned it, and put dead bodies in the place they stored the water. He said the disease and infections were so bad that many of the soldiers in his unit were scared to help them. He told me that out of all the shit he had went through, that was the worst. It tore him apart, and he said those poor people would haunt his dreams. He felt like he didn't do enough. He felt like those times when they couldn't push the line forward, that was just another day or another week those poor people had to be tortured. My great-grandfather was proud of his time in WWII, and he lived a great life. He died in 2011 at home in his bed watching his favorite show. They didn't tell me this while they were drunk, but I think it fits here. I'm a volunteer at a nursing home. When one of the female residents was close to death, she confided it in me this. One time her husband cheated on her with the neighbor's wife. When the neighbor's husband found out, he was very upset and was going to physically hurt her husband. They worked out a deal where the neighbor's husband would not hurt her husband if he was able to return the favor. In essence, her husband agreed to let the neighbor have her in order to save himself a righteous beating. It gets worse. She later became pregnant and told her husband for the rest of his life that it was his, but she honestly believed it to be the neighbor's. Her whole life she was carrying this burden about her son and what her husband had done to her, both with the cheating on her and with the trading her off like a cow. It was truly a heartbreaking conversation. An old friend I grew up with ended up messing around with the wrong crowd for a good few years until they all fell out. 4 of them wearing balaclavas went to his door and stabbed him multiple times. When they left, they forgot to shut the door and someone out walking the dog found him. After I found out about it a few weeks later, I was out drinking with some mates and a couple guys started talking utter rubbish about stuff until one of them said what him and his mates done to someone just weeks prior. Honesty shat myself when I put 2 and 2 together. My brother got terribly drunk 2 years ago at Thanksgiving. Like 7 or 8 Sam Adams, and he was fine at first point, then he started sobbing, and I was the one to comfort him for more than 3 minutes. He confided in me about his suicidal thoughts and how he fought with his friends about their relationships and how happy they are and wished he could have that too. Maybe fought is the wrong word. Like he felt happy that they were happy, but was sad that he wasn't happy like that too. He said he was too scared to do it because then I would be alone. It was the turning point where I could finally get him to get on antidepressants. He also brought up something from when we were like 6 and he put gum in my hair and we had to cut my hair off, and he was sobbing over this, calling himself a terrible brother and that I didn't deserve him. I didn't even remember that happening, and I ended up with short hair anyways, so I don't really care. He's doing way better now and hasn't ever gotten that drunk again. Love my brother, man. I'm gonna go give him a hug. Just a warning. This one is kind of gross, and you probably shouldn't read if you're sensitive to animal violence. Freshman year of college, a guy lived on my hall. I'll call him Rick. Rick was a pretty nice guy with a charming personality. He was a little over the top and could be a little too much at times, but people liked him. Fast forward a few months into school. Rick decides to buy a bunny and keep it secretly in his closet as a pet. Rick's roommate's girlfriend was really the one who took care of the bunny, and she loved it very much. This went on for some weeks, but then one day, the bunny was just gone. I asked around what had happened, but no one would tell me. Now for the intoxicated confession part. One night a few days later, while everyone was drinking, Rick's roommate's girlfriend called Rick out for killing the bunny. So, slowly, myself and a few other drunken teenagers learned that Rick had slowly tortured and killed the bunny over several hours. He was a complete monster, and he confessed to having the desire to kill animals, and having done so for a long time. He even went as far as to ask if I would buy him an animal from the pet store as he wasn't allowed to anymore. Honestly, it was a bad situation, and we should have done more to stop it. I really wonder how many more animals he's hurt. My best friend told me she loved me and wanted me to leave my wife last night. I've known her since we were in grade school and I feel sick. I don't even know if she remembers, because this morning she texted me about some new manga release that I should buy for my wife. And for everyone asking, I did talk to my wife. She got home a few hours ago and had actually gone to my friend's house to pick up my guitar and switch that I left there. Friend was mostly quiet and seemed like she just woke up, so I wonder if she is worried about how to handle it. I talked to my wife about it. I told her what happened, and she did cry a little about her relationship with our friend, but she mostly just seemed worried about how I'm handling it. She told me to wait to decide if I was cutting the friend out or not, so I can think about it and have time to talk to my friend before I just drop her. We both read a lot of the comments here, and it sparked a lot of good conversation points. There were some more explicit things my friend said that I didn't post here because it was a bit embarrassing. My wife wants to talk to our friend about that, but is going to let me have whatever conversation I need first. I saw a few comments of people worried I would leave my wife, and I just want to say that it's absolutely laughable that I would ever leave her. I assure you my wife has no competition, no matter who it is. There is absolutely 100% nobody as amazing or cute as my adorable wife. I'm not going to forget that. Thanks so much for the support and advice you all gave. I wasn't expecting a random Reddit comment to give me this much support.